Morning. I just want to check if my sound is okay.
Morning, Mr. Niehaus. Yes, it's clear.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Goedemorgen, good morning, Deepa.
Morning. How are you doing?
Doing well, and you?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Morning, honorable members. Morning,
Morning.
honorable
Morning.
Niehaus.
Morning, Honorable
Morning,
Pala.
Adepala.
How are you this morning?
Well, and
Fine.
you, Coach?
I'm fine.
You're fine.
Yes,
Let,
thanks, Coach.
let me see whether mine is okay.
Let's see if we can see your beautiful face. There you are.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks,
Thanks.
Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
How are you, Nandiba?
I'm well, and how are you, Chair?
That's great. It's just cold where I am.
It's also a bit cold here in Cape Town, Chair.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here in Cape Town as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you could hear me. I was saying I'm in Cape Town this weekend because we've got our EFF celebrations tomorrow in Kailicha.
So you are in Kailicha this weekend.
I'm in Cape Town. Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I'm saying you are celebrating in Kailicha.
We're in Kailicha at the Kailicha Rugby Stadium tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's great. That's great.
Yes.
Can I join you?
You can join. I've got a nice red T-shirt for you. I'll send it on. T-shirt and a nice beret. Then we say.
No, I don't have to wear the red T-shirt, but
It's compulsory, Chair. You wear the red T-shirt and the beret.
oh, okay.
I'll take a photo of myself and you and post it all over my social media.
Okay, no.
Okay, Chair.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I'll return just now. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Good morning.
Morning, Deputy Minister.
Morning, Deputy Minister, and morning,
Morning,
Honorable.
Coach.
Yeah.
Morning. I think we're ready to start, Nandipa, right?
Morning, co-chair. That's correct, chair. We can start. It's 9 o'clock and we do form a quorum.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, honorable members. Good morning, everyone. I think I have seen that we have the quorum. I want to greet
Recording
Deputy
in progress.
Nell. I'm not sure if Deputy Minister Mkungo is on the platform, but I haven't seen him yet. But I greet all the honorable members who are already on the platform, and I greet members of the committee, our secretariat staff, and everyone else who is part of the meeting. Mr. Mashaba from the DCAC, you are all welcome. The meeting today is convened to consider the briefing by the National Conventional Arms Control Committee on the 2025 Q1 and Q2 reports. After that briefing and discussion, we will consider the minutes of the previous meeting. But as we do so, I hope, Deputy Minister, you will have opportunity to comment on the letter that has been written by Honorable Niehaus regarding allegations that have been circulating in the media concerning Rheinmetall. So we hope that you will brief us a bit, because we had been assured previously by the minister who chairs the committee, the NCACC, that the NCACC was considering the matter, investigating it. But all of that having been done, I would like to request that we receive apologies.
Thank you, chair. There's an apology from the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. She is in China. Apology from the NCACC chairperson, Minister Kumbuzo Chaveni, who's also abroad. And then Mr. Noor is still off sick. Apology from Mr. Hala, who is in the Eastern Cape, in the Enoch Kijima local municipality, attending a career exhibition by the Education Department and the South African National Defence Force. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, can we have a mover and seconder for the adoption of today's agenda?
I move, Chair.
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Niehaus moves, Honorable Hatting seconds. Thank you. We can hand over to you, Deputy Minister, for presentation.
Chairperson and honorable members and all on the platform, very, very good morning. The National Conventional Arms Control Committee welcomes the opportunity to present its reports for the first and second quarters of 2025 to the Joint Standing Committee on Defence. We convey the greetings of the chairperson and members of the committee. The chairperson, as has been mentioned, is abroad on official business, and she conveys her apologies. And she's requested me as the deputy chairperson to present the committee's report. We really welcome this opportunity to report to and to be held accountable by the Joint Standing Committee on Defence. It is, in a sense, double oversight work, for we ourselves are both a regulatory and an oversight body charged by the National Conventional Arms Control Act with the following 6 responsibilities. First, the implementation of a legitimate, effective, and transparent control process. Second, to foster national and international confidence in the control procedures. Third, to provide for an inspectorate to ensure compliance with the provisions of the Act. Fourth, to provide guidelines and criteria to be used when assessing applications for permits made in terms of the Act. Fifth, to ensure adherence to international treaties and agreements. And sixth, to ensure proper accountability in the trade of conventional arms. You are therefore answering not only in theory, but in practice, the old question, quis custodiet ipsos custodes, or who will guard the guards themselves? Chairperson, on this philosophical note, it might also be an opportune time to congratulate you on the high honor of being conferred with a degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Public Management and Governance, based on a thesis dealing with the role of state-owned enterprises in achieving the commercial and developmental objectives of our country. These matters are not unrelated to the subject matter of the reports that we present to you today. During the 8 months since its appointment by President Cyril Ramaphosa on the 28th of October 2024, the National Conventional Arms Control Committee has held 9 meetings. Those are the regular scheduled meetings. There have also been quite a number of ad hoc emergency meetings. The committee has tried as far as possible to keep to a schedule of fortnightly meetings. During these meetings, the committee has dealt with 129 registration permits, 9 marketing permits, 138 contracting permits, to the value of 33 billion rand. I want to repeat that. 138 contracting permits to the value of 33 billion rand since we were appointed. We also dealt with 461 munitions export permits to the value of 5.8 billion rand. We also dealt with 149 export of dual use items to the value of 466 million rand. We therefore give the Joint Standing Committee the absolute assurance that the committee is fully functional and seized with discharging its duties in terms of the Conventional Arms Control Act that we outlined above. However, this doesn't mean that there are no challenges. The committee is attempting to address these challenges through, amongst others, developing a standard operating procedure to guide its work and that of its secretariat, as well as modernizing and digitizing the processing of applications. We will elaborate on these matters in the annual report that the committee is obliged to table in Parliament. We turn now to a high-level overview of our reports for the first and second quarters of 2025, covering the period 1 January to 30 June 2025. Chairperson, we will request, with your permission, that Mr. Sipho Mashaba, a member of the committee secretariat, do the detailed presentation to the committee after I've done the overview. But during the period under review, the committee approved the registration of 90 registration certificates and 1 marketing certificate. The Act defines marketing as the promotion of conventional arms and any negotiations, offer, tender advertising, shows, exhibitions, or giving of information relating to conventional arms. Furthermore, the committee approved 85 contracting permits. The total value involved in these permits is a very substantial 17.2 billion rand. The committee also approved 283 export permits for munitions. The total value involved of these permits is just under 5 billion rand, another substantial amount. The Act defines export as the transfer of conventional arms from the Republic to any place outside the Republic. A total of 165 import permits were approved. These involved 156 million rand. The Act defines import as to bring conventional arms into any part of the Republic, irrespective of whether it's done in exchange for currency or any other commodity. Lastly, 79 permits for the export of dual-use items were approved. These involved 287 million rand. The Act defines dual-use goods as products, technologies, services, and other goods which, beside their normal use and application for civilian purposes, can also be used for the furtherance of general military capability, and which are contained in a list published by the Minister by notice in the Gazette. Significantly, members will see that the pace of the committee's work is accelerating. During the second quarter, 56 companies were registered compared to only 34 during the first quarter. This represents a 60% increase. The value of contracting permits approved was 9.3 billion during the second quarter, 1.4 billion rand more than the 7.9 billion approved during the first quarter. However, the most dramatic increase was the export of munitions. During the second quarter, this stood at 4.9 billion, up from 907 million during the first quarter. The appendices to the reports that we will be tabling outline the range of conventional arms and dual-use items that South Africa is manufacturing and exporting. These range from ammunition to light weapons to high-end technology such as fire control and related alerting and warning equipment, imaging or countermeasure equipment, as well as software. We suggest that members must consider the above developments, facts, and figures in the context of our three priorities outlined in government's medium-term development plan, namely inclusive growth and job creation, poverty reduction and tackling the high cost of living, and building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Clearly, the industries which we are responsible for regulating make a considerable contribution to both economic growth, development, and the retention of skills and innovation generally. Furthermore, we've made the point previously that whilst it doesn't fall within the remit of the National Conventional Arms Control Committee, we cannot ignore the imperative of transforming the conventional arms industry in line with the need for inclusive growth and job creation. Humbly, we suggest that the Joint Standing Committee might want to consider engaging these important matters with other committees such as the Portfolio Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition. Before handing over to Mr. Mashaba, with your permission, Chair, to present the detailed reports, it would be appropriate to stress that we report in terms of Section 23 of the Conventional Arms Control Act. Section 23(2)(b) of the Act provides that, and I quote, "The reports will only reflect the country, type, and description for controlled items involved, the total value per type exported to the country for the year, and reflect the quantity of controlled items involved, except if the disclosure is prohibited in terms of a confidentiality clause in the contract of sale," close quote. The Act goes on to provide in Section 23(2)(c) that, and I quote again, information concerning the technical specifications of controlled items may be omitted from a report contemplated in the section in order to protect military and commercial secrets, close quote. Whilst Section 23(3) of the Act provides that, quote, no person may disclose any classified document or the content thereof concerning the business of the committee except with the permission of a competent authority or as required in terms of the Promotion of Access to Information Act, close quote. We raise these matters because on previous occasions members have raised concern that the committee's reports are not detailed enough. The National Conventional Arms Control Committee, however, is a creature of statute. We are bound by the provisions of the Conventional Arms Control Act, which was passed by Parliament after careful consideration of the imperatives dictated by our national interest and security in the context of a constitutional democracy that envisages an open and democratic society. In this regard, we recall the words of the preamble to the Conventional Arms Control Act, and we quote again, since the adequate protection of rights to life and security of the person against repression and acts of aggression is fundamental to the well-being and to the social and economic development of every country, and since it is the duty of every government to protect and safeguard the rights of its people, and since every responsible country has the right to acquire arms to equip itself against acts of aggression, and since the Republic is a responsible member of the international community and will not trade in conventional arms with states engaged in repression, aggression, or terrorism, and since the Republic is engaged in the manufacture and export of conventional arms, and since it is vitally important to ensure accountability in all matters concerning conventional arms, be it therefore enacted by the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa, close quote. We wish therefore to assure members that we strive to maintain strict compliance with the provisions of the Act. In this regard, we also wish to address the assertion made by some members of the Joint Standing Committee that South Africa is party to selling arms to Israel, be it directly or indirectly. We don't agree with this assertion. South Africa's position in this regard is well known and has been articulated both in words as well as actions, such as bringing a case of genocide against Israel in the International Criminal Court of Justice. The preamble to the Constitution of the Republic enjoins us to build a united and democratic South Africa able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. This echoes the words of the Freedom Charter that there shall be peace and friendship, and that South Africa shall be a fully independent state which respects the rights and sovereignty of all nations, and that South Africa shall strive to maintain world peace and the settlement of all international disputes by negotiation, not war. Accordingly, we appeal to any members of this Joint Standing Committee to assist the National Conventional Arms Control Committee to discharge its duties in terms of the Act by providing whatever evidence they have. And by evidence, we mean detailed evidence that is capable of being investigated by the committee so that we can ensure that indeed we are not contravening either the Act or the spirit and the letter of our Constitution. We look forward to engaging with the Joint Standing Committee on our reports for the first and the second quarters of 2025. Chairperson, we thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. It is my understanding that you wanted to hand over to Mr. Mashaba.
That is correct.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mashaba, the floor is yours.
Chairperson,
Okay, Honorable Hatting.
Chairperson, a lot of the specifically statistics mentioned by the Minister does not appear in the presentation that was sent to us. May I ask if there is another presentation or further documents that we will be provided with? I thought that everything that we discussed and is presented in this meeting will be submitted prior to the meeting to this committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, I am not. I think the secretariats, both of the committee and the joint standing committee, I think would be in a better position to indicate what has been distributed to members. The figures that I quoted come from the presentation that is about to be made, with the exception of the aggregate figures that would be inclusive of both these figures as well as some of the ones that we presented to the committee before. Those would not be in this presentation. I will gladly, after making one or two edits, supply the committee with the input that I've made that do contain the aggregate figures. But I think just to clarify that what is being presented to the committee are the reports for the first and the second quarter. I was making, through use of the aggregate figures, just a general point on the functioning of the committee. That's not the matters that are on the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The acting director of the DCAC was about to make a presentation which I thought would provide added information, which hopefully would answer the question that Honorable Hatting is asking. Could we allow him to do that? But perhaps before I take him, Honorable Blakis, followed by Honorable Niehaus.
No, Chair. Good morning to all. Good morning, Doctor. Chair, I think the Minister have covered me. I think the Minister have made an overall overview and input. We must maybe wait for the presentation to see what the real numbers is. I think the Minister have done an overall input to the committee in introduction of the presentation.
Thank you. Honorable Niehaus.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just have a question for clarification. I just want to be absolutely clear that the presentation that we are going to receive from Mr. Mashaba corresponds with the presentation, with the documentation that we have received in advance. Yes, if I can get clarity about that, I will be very happy.
My understanding is that Mr. Mashaba is now, the Deputy Minister was providing an overview, and Mr. Mashaba will now be getting into more detail, which would be therefore a corresponding presentation to the presentation that the Deputy Minister had presented.
Corresponding with the documentation that we have received, or is it a presentation that we have not seen before?
I
have
am
not received in advance.
Presumably corresponding with the documentation we have received. But
okay, we'll judge it. We'll judge it when we hear from Mr. Mashaba, but perhaps Mr. Mashaba can also confirm to us if that is the case. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Mashaba, I hand over to you.
Ministers, Deputy Ministers, members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Chair, my presentation briefly at a high level will cover aspects related to quarter one and quarter two. The presentation has disappeared now. Okay. Quarter one and quarter two, and also just the
Chair, is it just me that can't hear anything?
Am I not audible? Can you hear me?
He is audible to me. Can we confirm with other members if they also are not able to
I
hear?
can hear him, Chair. I can
Mr.
hear him.
It's quite
Mr.
clear.
Mashaba, is he audible now? I can hear him. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Yes.
As I was indicating, these are the issues that I will be covering. I will then jump straight into the presentation. Basically, here, Chair, as you would know, as the Deputy Minister had covered, that this is the act that is actually regulating the administration of arms in South Africa, meaning the munitions, as you would know, your normal military conventional arms, and the so-called dual use that could be modified and be used for civil and military purposes. And also to indicate that in South Africa, we don't have a one-stop shop. We are working together with other government departments such as your police, who are dealing with small arms. We are also working with the Non-Proliferation Council. They are part of the DTIC, and put together, we are the arms regulator in South Africa. Okay, in terms of the structures established by the Act, as the Chair and other members would know, the committee will only be appointed by the President in terms of Section 5 of this Act. At this point in time, we have got 7 full ministers and 4 deputy ministers that were appointed to the committee. And furthermore, to indicate where I belong and operate in terms of the structures is established. Section 8 establishes the Secretariat, where we provide administrative and technical support to the committee. And in a way, we are more like an agent. We serve the committee and the industry, meaning the committee will issue directives, or it will be a decision which will then be communicated to the industry and other stakeholders. It may be other stakeholders, not necessarily the industry. And basically, this is where I belong. And also to indicate in terms of our reporting lines that with regard to matters that are related to the functioning of the Act, we report to the committee. However, yes, Chair.
Yes. May I request that you jump this section, because both the NCACC and the DCAC have briefed us before on the reporting lines and how you function. Let's go straight, because I want to allow members enough time to contribute to the discussion on the quarter 1 and 2 reports.
Okay, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, Chair, thank you. I'm on page 8 now. In terms of quarter 1, which is January to end of March, as you would see there, Chair, the first item was the number of companies that were registered. We have 34, and the marketing, none. We did not issue any marketing. And in terms of contract permits or contracting permits, we have got 27 to the value of 7.9 billion. And there were no denials at this stage. However, there could be some that were kept under consideration owing to information that could be outstanding or situations that may be changing at the end user country. And when it comes to export munitions, we're talking conventional arms. We issued 139 of those permits. The value was 907 million. And the imports, these are your raw material that we receive, and partly for our own Armed Forces, we issued 79 permits. The value there was about 15 million. And to the dual use goods, we issued a total of 44 permits, and the value was 136 million, Chair. And coming to the second quarter, in terms of the registrations, we have 56 entities that were registered with us. And this time we only managed to issue one marketing permit. And in terms of the contractings that were approved by the committee, we have 58, and the value was about 9.3 billion. And the export munitions, conventional arms, 144, 4 billion. And the import, we've got 86, and the value 141 million. And export dual-use goods, we've got 35 and 151 million in value. And if you were to compare the 2 quarters, Chair, in terms of the registration, I think you would notice a significant increase when it comes to quarter 2. Hence, the color there is signaling or indicating the increase. If you were to compare the 2 quarters, you can see we have registered more companies than quarter 1. The same goes to the value of the contract as well as import and the dual-use goods. Also to indicate that contracting permits are multi-year programs, and as such, including their imports or related, exports, they will be overlapping over, multi-year. And geographically, if you were to compare the stats that we had provided before, as you could see under the munitions as approved, you can see the bigger number, 59%, went to Europe, and 30% went to the Middle East, and about 11% went to Asia, Australasia. And with Americas and Africa, not much was happening in quarter 1 when it comes to munitions. And coming to the dual use on the right-hand side, you can see that 65% went to the Americas, and 15% went to the Middle East, and 14% that was in Europe, and 5% was in Africa, and 1% in Asia. Coming to the second quarter, there's a slight change in terms of the numbers, but I think in terms of the munitions, the bigger percentage or slice of the pie is still Europe. This time there's followed by Africa, 35%, and America follows, and we've got Middle East, 4%, and 2% for Asia. And on the right-hand side, if you then come now to the dual-use goods, we have Africa that is leading there, 54%, followed by 36% Americas. And we have got Middle East in the 3rd place, and we've got Europe the 4th place, and Asia 1%. Here, Chair, it will be the actual report as provided and tabled. This is the actual report, which will then be indicating the countries specifically and the type of munitions that were exported. So the report, as far as I'm concerned, it has been tabled, and it will be available to the public in case the public would like to view it and perhaps ask questions regarding some of the transactions. This is how far we can go, Chair. That takes care of the presentation for today, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashaba. Honorable members, herewith is the report, Mr. Niehaus.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank Deputy Minister Nel and also Mr. Mashaba for the report that they've given us. Let me first of all point out that the reports are very sparse in terms of information. I heard what the Deputy Minister said, that it is a consequence of the Act, but it does raise some very serious concerns. It raises concerns because as we sit here as members of this committee, we have presented detailed information on the 14th of April to the NCACC, and you referred to that letter that I've written in your introductory remarks, Chair. And Mr. Nel only responded in very general terms, saying that the South African government will not make itself guilty of selling on arms to countries that are involved in conflict and committing crimes against humanity. But, Chair, the problem that we are faced with, and I put it to Deputy Minister Nel and to Mr. Mashaba, is that there is no way that we can know, in terms of the information that had been provided to us, whether such arms are not sold on to countries that support apartheid Israel and are also involved in the war in Ukraine. This we take from an answer that the Minister Nchabeni, who is the chair of the NCACC, gave to me in a question for written reply that I asked her, internal question number 1175, where the Minister said that since 2015, 0 end-user certificates had been verified by the inspectorate as set up in terms of the Act. Now, under those circumstances, one cannot make any judgment on whether the end-user certificates are indeed complied with by the states that have received arms. In the presentation that we received from Mr. Mashaba, there is a considerable, in fact, the largest amount of exports go to Europe. And this tallies with a report that we have received in detail, also published in the publication Millenton, that Rheinmetall Denel Munitions has had its greatest time ever in terms of its existence, with a huge supply of 155 millimeter Asagai artillery shells to a NATO country. I think this tallies with the huge increase that we see in exports in the second quarter. We are not told which NATO country, but we all know that NATO is supporting apartheid Israel, and we also know that there have been consistent reports that munitions that are exported from South Africa are used to help to replenish munitions that go from these NATO countries to apartheid Israel and to the Ukraine. This is also confirmed, Chair, by a United States Department of Defense's report of January 2025 that linked South Africa to arming conflict zones via the Ukraine Defense Contact Support Group. I had a discussion with Mr. Justice Edwin Cameron, who was the judge that investigated the disastrous Eli Wazan scandal that resulted in September 1994 and eventually led to the establishment of the NCACC out of the findings of the Cameron Commission, which former old President Nelson Mandela had appointed. And Mr. Justice Cameron was absolutely appalled to hear that the inspectorate set up in terms of the Act had not been utilized. It was sitting there gathering dust as a paper tiger, not used, and therefore we cannot know whether the end user certificates are indeed complied to, and therefore those end user certificates are not worth the paper that they are written on. Chair, I can also go to a report that was published by the Sudanese Military Capabilities Platform on the 28th of June 2025, where they said that the Rapid Support Forces militia on the 30th of May 2025 used PHOS M8931 40M phosphorus munitions, and this was used in Khartoum. That these munitions, in terms of the information available to us, was produced by Rheinmetall, and that some of the production took place by Rheinmetall Denel Munitions. And in fact, that these munitions were carried by the very same 155mm Assegai artillery shells and propellant charges manufactured by Rheinmetall Denel Munitions, and therefore that there is a clear and direct link to what was happening in Khartoum, in Sudan, and the problems that we are faced with munitions exported to NATO countries, and those very same munitions and those very same PHOS M8931 40M phosphorus and amorphous ammunitions also being used in Gaza by apartheid Israel. Now, the links we are making, the dots we are connecting, but the problem is that the NCACC cannot provide us with any hard facts stating that the end user certificates have been checked and that they can give us a guarantee that these ammunitions that have been sold to NATO countries have not ended up in the hands of the apartheid Israelis, nor some of the militia groups in Sudan, nor in the hands of the Ukrainian armed forces. This is the reality check. And under these conditions, we cannot do anything else but state to the NCACC that they are failing in carrying out their duties. That the report that they presented to us today doesn't help us to understand at all whether these breaches are taking place. In fact, it is a report that doesn't contain any useful information for this committee, making it possible to carry out our overall oversight duty. Therefore, unfortunately, Chair, this session that we are in at the moment is nothing else but a box-ticking exercise with good sounding words of commitments by Deputy Minister Nel, saying to us, we will not sell to countries that are in armed conflict and countries that commit these particular crimes and war crimes. But he cannot give us one guarantee that this is the case. while there's overwhelming evidence in terms of United States of America Defense Force reports, in terms of reports what is happening in apartheid Israel, and specifically in terms of their actions in Gaza, and also arms that are being sold on from the various NATO countries to the Ukraine. This is the reality. I've provided detailed information. That information has not been responded to except for the general nice sounding words and remarks that the Deputy Minister gave us. I want to warn, Chair. I'm going to stop now, Chair. I want to warn that we are heading for a disaster, and that this disaster will be worse than the Eli Wazan crisis that we had to face in 1994, which President Mandela tried to address through the Cameron Commission. The findings of the Cameron Commission having led to the NCACC, and the NCACC failing to carry out its duties and not implementing its tasks through also not utilizing its inspectorate in order to make sure that end user certificates are complied to. As we sit here, and with these words I conclude, neither Deputy Minister now nor Mr. Mashaba can give us any guarantee that weapons that have been sold to NATO countries and other countries that are supporters of apartheid Israel and involved in the conflict in the Ukraine have not been transferred on to those countries. Why can't they? Because they haven't utilized the inspectorate once since 2015 by the answer that the minister, who is the chair of the NCACC, provided to me. So the only conclusion I can come to, and this committee can come to, is that this report is not worth the hot air that was blown, the paper that it is on, and we cannot take any comfort that we are not bridging our international arms control commitments. Neither the Deputy Minister nor Mr. Mashaba can give us that guarantee because they do not have the information and they haven't utilized their inspectorate. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry. Thank you, Honorable Niehaus. I think towards the end of the meeting, we need to resolve how we are going to deal with this issue going forward so that we can take it to the next level of finalization. Honorable Hattie, followed by Honorable Khwase, followed by Honorable Plakis.
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible?
Very much so.
Okay, thank you for that. Chair, I do not share the opinions of Honorable Niehaus on many of the issues that he has mentioned. But before I get there, I would like to thank the Deputy Minister, Nel, as well as Mr. Mashaba for the input, which I regard as a very positive input. If we look at the objectives of the Government of National Unity in growing the economy and job creation, a growth of 60% between 2 quarters in companies registering is phenomenal, and I want to thank both the Directorate and the committee for the work done. And I hope a lot more is being done because we really depend on growing the economy if we want to get out of the slump where we find ourselves in, as well as we all know the crisis that the SANF finds itself in because of the funding. We need growth, and the only way to address our problems, financial problems, is to create jobs and to create job opportunities. Chair, That is very positive. But Chair, if I come then to the report, the very brief report, and I thank Deputy Minister Nel for availing some later then additional information to us that he put forward. Perhaps it's overarching, but it is valuable, and thank you also for the valuable input. But Chair, at our previous meeting, this committee raised concerns about concerns coming from the industry about delays at the Directorate and at the NCACC that they are waiting very long to get approval. Many of these concerns were addressed, and I was happy that there was huge progress in handling the applications. But Chair, we cannot leave it there. Can I ask, like we've done the previous time, that we get a breakdown of applications sitting at the DCAC/NCACC for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 and 180 days and longer, please. We need that. And then also, obviously, not only the number of applications, but the rand value to that applications. Chair, there is a saying that if you want peace, you have to prepare for war. And that's why it is very encouraging to see that there is a growth in the arms industry, and that South Africa is benefiting from that. Chair, coming to what was said about Rheinmetall, the now munitions. Chair, I don't know what's the agenda, but Rheinmetall RDM is a very big player in the arms world and also in South Africa. It is the second biggest arms manufacturer, munition manufacturer in the world. In South Africa alone, it employs around about 2,600 people, many of them in my hometown, Potchefstroom. It has got a massive employment of these people in Potchefstroom, also in the Western Cape, at Boksburg and Pretoria. It contributes massively to the local economies, specifically in a town like Potchefstroom. But so 2,600 families are looking at RDM for their livelihood. It's very, very important. But more than that, the first tier of suppliers to RDM has got about 1,500 companies with more than 30 people in it. So if we look at this, it's about 45,000 people on the first tier of suppliers to RDM. We talk about between 300,000, 500,000 people whose future are being impacted by what happens by the success or by the failure of RDM. And that's why I'm so very positive that something is happening. And we have had the assurance in the past of mechanisms that are in place according to our laws, that the necessary controls are in place to see that the arms that are exported doesn't find its way to places that is in conflict with our national interest. So, Chair, I want to compliment the NCACC and the DICC for the work that has been done, and it appears that after the period, hiatus period that we had between the two NCACC committees, that has been eliminated, and it appears that everything is running well. But Chair, I've got another concern, and this relates to something that was asked by Honorable Gossel in a previous meeting about access to the public to the DCAC. And I have received a letter which is very, very concerning. And because the Chief SANDF was mentioned, I did take it up with the Chief SANDF, who took it to the Chief of Staff as well as to SecDef, but I haven't heard anything since. I just want to quote from this. It comes from an anonymous writer or writers, I don't know. It is here in the first paragraph. We unfortunately write this email anonymously due to the constant fear of retribution and retaliation by members of the DCAC and NCACC. We trust that this one, okay, I'm not going to go further on with that paragraph. I'm prepared to share it also on this committee. But Chair, this already, the first paragraph, have got all the alarms bells, all alarms belling going off. Fear of retribution and retaliation by members of the DCAC and NCACC. This is a very, very serious allegation. Now, let me go on. I want to read you 2-3 sentences from the next paragraph. It has come to our attention with utter shock, disappointment, and disbelief that one of our very own members have been banned from entering the Arms Corps building and thus prevented from gaining access to the DCAC for the very work this person has been appointed for. From searching online, we have established that this was a result of this person allegedly showing you where the offices of the DCAC is back in February of this year. Actually, I was there, and there are no signs where the DCAC is, and we asked a person in the parking lot, show us where this is. Do you know? And we got help. And now this person allegedly have been banned from office to which the public should have access. Chair, if this is true, I can't believe it's true. I can't believe that that any member of any minister, deputy minister, or the director of anybody in the DCAC will actually go down to this level of retaliation and intimidation. I would like to get comment on this. This is a very serious situation. And also, I've asked the questions in the past. Why should the front office of the DCAC, which should be accessible to everybody, which should actually be a marketing office for the growth of our arms industry and job creation, why should it be in a security complex such as Arms Corps building, which is also the headquarters of the SANDF? Why is it not in Sandton City? Thank you, Chair. I concluded with that.
Thank you very much. Honorable members will notice that I'm a bit liberal with the time, but I am watching the time. Honorable Lehwase.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm sorry I'll not open my video. I am not well. Actually, I'm on leave, but had to join this meeting. Allow me to stand on the protocol that has already been established, and good morning to all on the platform. Chairperson, I would outrightly like to request you to bear with me if maybe some of the questions I'll be posing have already been responded to in previous meetings, because I see honorable members that came before me are referring to some of the issues that were discussed previously. It's unfortunate that on that particular meeting or meetings, I was not part of the meeting. Chairperson, it has been indicated that there's growth in the defense industry, and there are opportunities that are offered to strengthen South Africa's global standing, the regional influence and economic resilience, but only if strategically managed. Now, I want to know how the NCACC is leveraging the 4.6 billion export market to enhance South Africa's role in the BRICS and the African Defence Cooperation. The second one, Chair, emanating from the same point, I would like to know the steps that are being taken to align this arms trade growth with broader industrial policies such as technology transfer and innovation. Chairperson, the South Africa's arms exports have been a subject of controversy in the past, with concerns that were raised about the potential misuse of export arms. I want to know, how does the committee ensure that the arms exports are not used to perpetuate human rights abuses and contribute to the conflict of the recipient countries? On issues of transparency of the permit issuance, Chairperson, the committee's report provides some information on permit issuance, but details about specific permits and recipients are often limited. I would like the committee to consider providing more detail, even if it can be in writing, more detailed information about permit issuance, including the specific countries and companies involved in increasing this transparency and accountability. Chairperson, there are concerns about potential for South African arms export to be used in conflict zones and area of instability. What steps does the committee take to ensure that arms exports are not used to fuel a conflict or instability in recipient countries? And how does it assess the risk of diversion or misuse? My last question, Chair, is that we know as Parliament we have a critical role of overseeing the committee's activities and ensuring that it is accountable to the public. Now, I want to know, how does the committee engage, besides this platform only, how does it engage with Parliament, and what measures are in place to ensure that Parliament is adequately informed about the committee's activities and decision-making? I'm asking this question, Chair, to maybe get an indication on, is there a better approach to can engage with or to be abreast or on par with issues as they emanate in the committee, unlike waiting for the joint standing committee meetings that is scheduled for us to come and get a briefing? Is there no other way of getting engagement in between? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Khwase. Honorable Blackies.
Thank you, Chair. Let me follow suit in appreciating the presentation that was made by the committee. Chair, mine is just to go where Honorable Hatting was on, to congratulate the growth that is in the defense industry, but also checking on how that is going to assist the drive of our economic recovery and transformation, particularly in the disadvantaged communities and groups. That is what I really want to check, Chair, on how do the NCC think they are going, or maybe ensuring that they bring and include Black-owned companies and women in businesses to advance transformation in all of the contracts that they are awarding. What measure do they have in place, Chair, to maximize job creation as the industry? Chair, I'm also having the last question was on the dual sales and improvement. I would want to check, what is there concern with the tariff hikes that the US have seems to want to impose on South Africa, with the biggest margin that we get from them in 65% on contracts. Do we have a contingency plan if that should have happened, Chair? That is my questions to the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Blackies. Honorable Pala, Co-Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning, honorable members. Good morning to the Minister, and good morning to the support staff. Let me start by congratulating you, Chair, on the achievement, your academic achievement. This is a good thing, it's positive. Chair, let me as well follow suit on what honorable members have indicated here on the issue of growth of the new registrations companies. Is quite pleasing, and I'm happy as well that the committee seems to be doing everything within the regulatory framework, which are in line with the country's laws and the international laws as well, and that the committee seemed to ensure that is not allowing the movement of or the supply of ammunition to countries which are in conflict. That is pleasing, but we'll definitely make a follow up on some of these issues which have been raised. But so far we are quite comfortable of what the committee is putting here. My question or my clarity, I'll seek clarity on this new registration of companies to the committee. That these companies are they new companies in the industry, or are the very same companies which are in the industry but just applying for supplying new products? And if they are new companies, I really want to know whether these are companies which are coming from people who were excluded before, and if not, how do we how does the committee ensure that the black people, the young people, comes into the industry to ensure that they grow the economy and they become part and parcel of the industry? That is that's what I will request the company, I mean the committee, just to clarify me on, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As we welcome also on the platform Deputy Minister Mkhungo. Honorable members, just a few questions also on my side, which I had noted as the presentation was done and members were asking. With regard to South Africa's commitment to BRICS and to supporting peace, human rights, and African solidarity, I think the question that I have is how does the NCACC ensure that arms sales to African countries support regional stability and the AU Agenda 2063 objectives? Secondly, how does the NCACC also leverage the 4.6 billion rand export market to enhance South Africa's role in BRICS and the African Defence Cooperation? What steps are being taken in that regard to align arms trade with broader industrial policies such as technology transfer and innovation? I think the issue here is that we want to see not only a focus on arms exports. But we also want to see a focus on improving our industrial capabilities, ensuring technology transfer and innovation, developing skills. And I understand what the Deputy Minister indicated earlier, that we have limitations, that the NCACC is a creature of legislation, and that it could be that we have a limitation in terms of what the legislation wants the NCACC to report on. But there are broader positive externalities that we would be interested to know more about, so that we can evaluate and properly assess the impact of the work of the NCACC. It could be that we are not able to get those types of reports on a quarter-to-quarter basis, but perhaps when we get the annual performance report and maybe engage in discussions at the end of the financial year, we should get reports that are a bit more extensive in terms of the industrial, technological skills and innovation impact of the work undertaken by the NCACC, including the positive or negative input on growth. Finally, from my side, the question would be, how do we ensure effective coordination with the SAPS Firearms Registry, as well as the DTIC's Non-Proliferation Council, to ensure a cohesive arms control framework and streamline regulation? I see there is now Honorable Gerike. May I request members to also try to raise their hands early, so that we avoid raising them when we are about to go to responses? Honorable Gerike. And if there is anyone else who still wants to raise a hand, please do so now.
Yeah, Chairperson and colleagues, good morning, and also to the members of the NCAC. I apologize for raising my hand late. I have a problem with my gadget here. I never do this. But I have a concern and then a very basic, simple question. The concern is that I've seen a sizable amount of business has been done with Morocco, for instance, and we've also read about NATO countries that procure from this institution. Now, I want us to get this thing to bed for once and for all, so that we understand and that we get proper political guidance and move forward in this regard. If countries that are in conflict, for instance, with our country's political ideology and our constitution, and we still do business with them, what is the stance of the government in this regard? Now, it's a critical question, because it's almost like the ICJ. We take a case to the ICJ and other people are going behind our backs and they go to Israel and all those type of things. And there's conflicting interests, and it's a travesty. So if there are gaps in the legislation, I've heard that you've spoken about the legislation earlier on. If there are gaps in the type of legislation that whereby products can be sneaked through to those countries, how then do we stop those gaps in the in the existing legislation, so that we don't feed those countries with our products, and so that they don't use our products in war-torn areas where we protect, for instance, the rights of those countries and those people, but we feed other countries to fight those countries against us and against our constitution and against our political ideology. It cannot be normal if this is the case, that we supply armament to countries that are directly in conflict with what we stand for as South Africa, and how we connect and align with other countries that align with us politically and ideologically, Chairperson. This is a critical question to us in the EFF, because we cannot support an institution, or we cannot support countries that oppress other nations, that kill other nations, and that are basically contributing towards mass murder and genocide, for instance. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Gerike. Honorable Deputy Minister, I hand over to you for responses and to Mr. Mashaba and Deputy Minister Nkungo.
Chairperson, thank you very much. And I also extend my greetings to my colleague, Deputy Minister Nkungo. I'm going to answer a number of the questions, especially at a higher level, and I'm going to ask Mr. Mashaba to come in and provide further details. I think firstly, just to thank all members of the committee who have recognized and commended the committee for the improvement in the pace of our work. Yourself, Chairperson, Co-Chairperson Pala, Honorable Members Plaikis, Hatang, Lehwase. I think maybe to start off with, I think, one common cross-cutting thread, and that is the role of the armaments industry within our broader objective of creating inclusive growth and job creation. I think, as we said in our introductory remarks, this area is really falls outside the remit and the statutory mandate of the committee. It is something that we reflected upon at our very, very first meeting, and we recognize the impact of our work on this crucial sector of the economy. And hence we made the proposal in our introductory remarks for the committee to consider possibly having a joint hearing with the portfolio committee and the select committees responsible for trade, industry and competition, and possibly other committees such as science, technology and innovation. To really, I think, have a much more global perspective on the arms industry, the role that it plays in the economy, the interlinkages with innovation, science and technology, but also the very, very crucial aspect of the transformation of this important sector of our economy, making it more inclusive, especially in relation to Black people in general, to women and youth also in particular. So I will definitely take the proposal, Chairperson, back to the committee, that we reflect on these matters in our annual report. But I do want to say up front is that we are not really in the best position to engage meaningfully on this area. And I say that because we are very much, as I said, a creature of statute. Our role, our responsibility is spelled out very clearly in the Act. And I think we would also just be cautious of not prejudicing what is, at the end of the day, our core responsibility, and that is to process applications, and which we've been directing our attention to doing faster, better, and more thoroughly. But if I may take this back to the committee for consideration, And if the committee in the meantime could consider maybe having a joint hearing at which the committee together with the relevant departments can come and make inputs, because I do think it is a very crucial area. And I think also, as the Honorable Hatting has very graphically illustrated, these things are not just big numbers, big theories. They impact on the lives of citizens. He told us how in his constituency of Potchefstroom and surrounding areas, there are 2,600 families that are dependent upon this industry. He also illustrated very graphically the total number of people, up to 350,000 people who are involved in the first tier suppliers within this overall value chain. So I do think it is something that Parliament should be seized with, and I will report back on that to the committee. The second area is the issue of the criteria that and the methodology used by the committee in assessing applications. Now, Chairperson, at the risk of consuming more time, I do just want to recap what the provisions of the Act say. And the guiding principles and criteria are set out in Section 15 of the Act. And they say that when considering applications, the committee must A, assess each application on a case-by-case basis. B, safeguard the national security interests of the Republic and those of its allies. C, avoid contributing to internal repression, including the systematic violation or suppression of human rights and fundamental freedoms. D, avoid transfers of conventional arms to governments that systematically violate or suppress human rights and fundamental freedoms. E, avoid transfers of conventional arms that are likely to contribute to the escalation of regional military conflicts, endanger peace by introducing destabilizing military capabilities into a region, or otherwise contribute to regional instability. F, adhere to international law, norms and practices, and the international obligations and commitments of the Republic, including United Nations Security Council arms embargoes. G, take account of calls for reduced military expenditure in the interests of development and human security. H, avoid contributing to terrorism and crime. I, consider the conventional arms control system of the recipient country and its record of compliance with end-user certificate undertakings, and avoid the export of conventional arms to a government that has violated an end-user certificate undertaking. J, take into account the inherent right of individual and collective self-defense of all sovereign countries in terms of the United Nations Charter. And K, avoid the export of conventional arms that may be used for purposes other than the legitimate defense and security needs of the government of the country of import. So I think the criteria in terms of which we function is set out very, very clearly. Now, in order to acquit ourselves of that task, there is a scrutiny committee that involves the South African police, that involves state security, that involves international relations and cooperation. The committee is furnished with very, very detailed reports from all of those entities on each and every application that we consider. So we are very, very mindful. And where the reports that are furnished to us do not provide us with sufficient information, we do call the high officials from those different departments to come and brief us and provide us with further information. Obviously, I'm not at liberty to discuss individual detailed matters, but I can assure the committee that there is a very thorough process of engagement with those scrutiny committee reports, and we do try by all means to straddle the delicate balance that are set out in those criteria, and also assess that in the context of prevailing geopolitical and regional political realities. So those considerations are very, very much part of what goes into assessing the applications for permits. So in terms of the issues raised by the Honorable Niehaus and also echoed by the Honorable Gericke, I can just say that we take those matters extremely, extremely seriously. But at the same time, we can't act decisively and clearly until we've exhausted certain processes and investigations. Now, it's true that the Honorable Niehaus has asked parliamentary questions. He's cited quite a number of studies, and certainly those do provide a basis on which to engage in a closer scrutiny process. At the same time, I think the honourable member would appreciate that conducting inspections in certain circumstances, especially conflict situations, also comes with challenges of its own. But to suggest that there's been no scrutiny, I think is simply not true. Secondly, a substantial part of the Honourable Niehaus's argument is not that South African produced armaments are being sold directly or being passed on to others, but that in essence, the sale of those arms to certain countries enables them to sell their own stock onwards elsewhere. Now, that, I mean, is an argument that does require a lot more investigation and consideration, and hence I think the appeal that we've made to the Honourable Niehaus and to others, that if they are in a position to assist the committee, that would be highly appreciated. I'm going to ask Mr. Mashaba to speak in greater detail about the work of the Secretariat in general, the Scrutiny Committee, and also the Inspectorate in that regard. The Honourable Plaatjes posed a question about the possible impact on US tariff hikes. I think, again, that is something that would be best dealt with in a joint meeting that would involve trade, industry, and competition. Although I can say that our trade in arms with the United States is fairly minimal, as would would be seen from the figures. Remember, and Mr. Mashaba can perhaps speak a bit more about that. In those pie graphs on the regional disaggregation, recall that it refers to the Americas, not to America as in the United States of America. The question by Honorable Gigaba, the chairperson, around more effective coordination with the SAPS and DTIC, I think it's a point very, very well taken. Mr. Mashaba might also want to elaborate a little bit more on the SAPS dimension, but we do receive reports at each of our meetings on the activities of the SAPS. There are certain items that fall within the SAPS mandate that require our ratification as a committee. Others are within the ambit of the police to deal with, but nonetheless, they do report those to us for noting. The Honorable Hatton raises the issue of oversight. I'm not aware of anyone being banned from the complex. That is something that we would need to look into. I think bearing in mind that DCAC is housed in Defence Headquarters. Defence Headquarters obviously manages its own building, but we certainly would make a follow-up in that regard. I might just say that following an earlier unannounced visit to DCAC, we did raise the matter with the speaker, and I must say that subsequently members have written to us, notifying us of their desire and intent to visit, and we have gone out of our way to facilitate those visits, and I think it's resulted in a much more positive working relationship. And we also thank the Honorable Hatton and other members for that. I think it makes working together much easier. I think in regarding his question as to why DCAC is in a security complex, I think it emanates from the fact that the Act assigns the secretariat function to the Department of Defense. Two, I think there's a distinction, and that's perhaps something that I will report back to the committee for us to consider further, is that there might be merit in considering whether we want to separate the front office functions of DCAC and the secretariat functions of the committee. Clearly, the committee deals with highly sensitive and confidential strategic information which affects national security and our national interest. So from that point of view, I think it makes sense for that function to be housed in a security complex to ensure the safeguarding of that information. The front office function of people coming to apply for registrations and so on, I think is something that can be looked at. There was also a request for a more detailed breakdown in applications, 30, 60, 90 days. We will be happy to look into that. As I mentioned in my introductory remarks, we also are also looking at modernizing and digitizing the processing of applications, which would also make it much easier to generate that kind of data and to keep track of the processing of applications. As I said, I can just give the committee the assurance that NCACC met. The last meeting of NCACC was on Tuesday last week, and I think we dispensed with all applications up to July. But I think the point is well taken, and we'll look into that. The question from the Honorable Lehwase around accountability to Parliament, we, I think, don't have any problem in being called by the committee as and when is necessary. But I think just bearing in mind that there are statutory reporting requirements, and that whilst there can be regular ongoing engagement, it shouldn't detract from those statutory reporting and accounting obligations that we have to Parliament. Chairperson, I would like to think that I've addressed all of the questions. If I could then, through you, just ask Mr. Mashaba to add in a bit of detail around the functioning of the Secretariat, the Scrutiny Committee, and the Inspectorate, and then maybe any other matter that requires further information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Mr. Mashaba.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as I was indicating on our slide, that we are largely involved as the Secretariat with admin matters and technical matters. We are advising the committee with that, and as established in terms of Section 8. But in terms of Section 9, the Act establishes what we call the Secretariat. I mean, the Inspectorate, my apology. That's a team of inspectors who will be visiting the companies domestically before they are registered to check their premises and many other things. And also they are entitled also to do an unannounced visit to some of the entities if they suspect malicious intent or activities. And they would also, as directed by the committee, would visit, some of the buyers internationally as and when required by the committee. However, what is important to note, that requirement only arises most of the time when there is an issue raised by United Nations, as South Africa is a member of quite a number of UN instruments, and therefore we are subjected to some of the requirements as well. And when it comes to visitation and on-site verification, obviously that is not some kind of an intrusive kind of an activity. It will be a diplomatic kind of an activity where we engage with that particular end user, meaning the inspectorate. And when it requires that they visit the company or the country where the goods were delivered, they will do so, and under the guideline of the end user, because the aim is not to be intrusive to the end user, but rather a confidence building mechanism, because we are building confidence with these countries. And perhaps to indicate, as the Deputy Minister has indicated, that we have got the scrutiny committee where we converge, and it will be chaired by a DG. At this point in time, it is chaired by the Secretary for Defense, and will be joined by other senior officials from SSA, from DELCO, and DTIC is also involved, and the police, wherein we scrutinize these applications and make recommendations to the committee for approval. So basically, this is where we meet and consider and recommend these positions to the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, herewith are responses. Are there any follow-up questions? Honorable Niehaus.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank Deputy Minister Nel and also Mr. Mashaba for the responses or the lack of responses that they've given us. Let me state up front, Chair, that the Economic Freedom Fighters is not in any way whatsoever against the creation of jobs and pushing as hard as we possibly can for economic growth. But of course, these issues cannot happen at the cost of acting correctly in terms of our international obligations for arms control. There are simple principles, Chair. You cannot argue that I'm going to create jobs, but I will create those jobs in the process of enabling war crimes and genocide. Those principles had been set clearly over many, many decades by international law. The Nuremberg trials against the Nazis were very clear. They dealt viciously with large companies, including companies such as Mercedes-Benz and BMW, that cooperated with the Nazis in order to create war crimes, to commit war crimes. And there were senior industrialists who were found guilty and were given severe sanction by the Nuremberg trials. So, Chair, while we support job creation and growth, we cannot support breaking our international commitments in terms of our international undertakings to meet what we are supposed to do with regards to arms control. We are not able to verify whether we, as South Africa and companies such as Rheinmetall, Denel Munitions, are doing so, because we do not carry out the job of doing proper inspections also in those countries where arms are received and making sure that those arms are not sold on or transferred on to places of conflict and countries that commit war crimes and genocide, such as apartheid Israel and also what is happening in the Ukraine. And this is the serious concern that we as the economic freedom fighters are raising. And I would like to ask all members of this committee and also the NCACC to take this concern that we are raising in absolute good faith extremely seriously. That's why I referred to the 14-page letter that I sent on the 14th of April, 2025, and I'm glad that the Deputy Minister acknowledged that that letter contains some very serious concerns and facts that need to be further investigated. From my side, I once again state here categorically in this committee that I am prepared to cooperate also with the NCACC in order to get to the bottom of those concerns, because they are not paltry concerns. In pursuit of that, I have a further seminal 15 questions that I would have liked to pose in this committee to the NCACC and to the Deputy Minister. But of course, that is not practically possible. So I request permission, Chair, to file those questions via your good officers to the NCACC for their response. And I repeat again what I've said before, also before I sent the previous 14-page letter, to which there still hasn't been any detailed response 102 days after that letter was dispatched. I'm prepared to cooperate with the NCACC. I'm accepting the invitation from Deputy Minister now and will provide whatever information is available to me. But I must emphasize at the same time that a considerable amount of this information is generally and readily available also to the members of the NCACC if they want to take this information seriously and if they want to acquaint themselves with this. In conclusion, Chair, we want, as the economic freedom fighters, to work with the NCACC also in this Joint Standing Committee on Defence to address a matter that we cannot sweep under the carpet. We cannot argue that for the sake of jobs, important as they are, and there's no party that is more concerned about creation of jobs and growth in this country than the EFF, because our base, our supporters, are unemployed, are the poor, are the people who want jobs and who want and need urgently through economic empowerment. But we cannot do that at the cost of committing war crimes and enabling criminals and genocide such as what is happening in Gaza. So this is the challenge, to address these issues, to make sure that they don't happen, to take seriously the provisions of the law, to implement the work of the inspectorate properly, not have an inspectorate that not in 15 years once left the country to go and inspect one country's base where weapons have been exported to by South Africa. And if we take those challenges seriously, then we will be able to talk about both complying with international law and what we need to do, and creating jobs and creating growth in South Africa. And that is what we are all called to do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Pala.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I feel that Mr. Mashaba has not answered my question. And let me rephrase my question. My question is that the Directorate have an enabling mechanism to create a space for new emerging companies by ending monopolies and the behavior that stifles entries and competition. That is economic empowerment to Black and young generation in particular. This is my question, Chair, and I feel that Mr. Mashaba has not answered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Harting.
Thank you, Chair. I did put the issue of the letter about from the anonymous letter from members of the industry allegedly about allegations of retribution, intimidation, retaliation, and then the banning of a person of the premises. I would like to get the reaction, explicit reaction on these allegations, and then also explicitly, was a person banned from the premises? Was there a hearing? Was there a charge? And on what legal basis, if the person was banned, was a person banned from the premises? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Harting. I see no other hand for follow-up. I therefore request Deputy Minister to answer, followed by Mr. Maybe let's start with Mr. Mashaba, so that when the Deputy Minister responds as the principal, he also then wraps up. Let's start with Mr. Mashaba.
Chairperson, if I may, because I don't think there's need for Mr. Mashaba to answer further. I think maybe just to say first and foremost with regard to the Honorable Pala's question, I think I did try to answer that in saying that it's not within the mandate of the National Conventional Arms Control Committee to be pursuing issues of industrial policy. It's certainly something that we are very acutely mindful of as we go about our work, but it's not. We are not empowered by the Act to formulate industrial policy or to take decisions on applications based on considerations of industrial policy. We would really be acting in violation of the law if we were to go beyond that and to say that we're approving or not approving a particular permit based on criteria of industrial policy, on the transformation of the industry, and so on. We would clearly be litigated against and successfully so. However, that's not to say that we're not mindful of those considerations, and that's why I was making the proposal for consideration by the committee to say, would the Joint Standing Committee not be in a better position, together with the committees on trade and industry, on science, technology and innovation, and others, to maybe have a special set of hearings around those matters, where ourselves, together with trade and industry and others, can come and make inputs. The question of the development of the industry and the transformation of the industry really falls squarely within the ambit of DTIC. And as I said, we would be really overstepping the mark if we were to venture into that. Secondly, the Honorable Hutton, I was under the impression that I did respond to your question around the letter, the victimization, the banning. I said I have no knowledge whatsoever of anyone being banned. I further said that I will look into the matter, and furthermore that remember that the Secretariat of the National Conventional Arms Control Committee, by statute, is a responsibility of the Department of Defense, and therefore the Secretariat and is located in Defense headquarters. It's not the access to and from Defense headquarters is a matter that falls under the head of the Defense Force. It would not have, I can assure you, there's been no decision by NCACC to restrict anyone's access to the office. I mean, that I can tell you categorically. So if you would please allow me the opportunity to look into that matter, and if we could also be furnished with a copy of the letter that you referred to, which I have not had sight of. I think lastly, I think the Honorable Niehaus I think it was not so much a question, an issue of a follow-up question, but really indicating a willingness and a desire to cooperate with the committee and to provide any further information. We also note that he would has indicated that he would be tabling a set of 15 questions with the committee for forwarding to NCACC, and we will look at those when we receive them. But I mean, we do thank him for that spirit of cooperation, and I think we just want to reiterate once again position of the South African government on the situation, on the actions of the Israeli government vis-a-vis the people of Palestine. Our position is very clear. We condemn those actions unreservedly. We've taken the matter to the ICJ, and the provisions of the Act are very, very clear in that they would not permit the sale of arms to Israel. With that, Chairperson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hatting, is that a legacy hand or?
No, Chair, if I can just finalize this issue. Chairperson, the Deputy Minister, I did send the letter to the Deputy Minister. He is now in possession of it. However, he doesn't know about it, but Mr. Mashaba, who the Deputy Minister said should not respond, his name is repeatedly mentioned in this letter. Chair, may I ask if Mr. Mashaba then can respond to the questions that I've put from his perspective? Thank you, Chair.
Since Honorable Hatting were not in an inquiry, let us ask the principals to consider the letter and ask the questions to Mr. Mashaba, so that in case he did this, the principals take the requisite action and advise us. Because you've also posted the letter to our group. So it's a matter of interest to all of us. If the allegations concerned are legitimate, Mr. Mashaba will respond to his principals, and then the political principals who are accountable to the committee, who are the chair, deputy chair, and members of the NCACC, will then respond to us in writing on the letter that you have placed before the Deputy Minister. What I'm trying to avoid is to put Mr. Mashaba in a position where he finds himself in an inquiry which he was not prepared for and which he didn't prepare for in advance. And the meeting not being an inquiry, I think we shouldn't transform it into it. It suffices that the question has been placed before the Deputy Minister as the Deputy Chair, and they will respond to us as he promises.
Chairperson, thank you for that. May I just ask for a time frame?
The time frame is usually 7 working days, and we hope that the Deputy Minister will calculate from today to ensure that within 7 working days we do get the response we require on the letter you've placed before him.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, this brings us to the conclusion on this matter. On the issue that Honorable Hatting had raised, I think we've concluded in the manner that the Deputy Minister within 7 working days will provide a response. On the issue of the allegations against Rheinmetall Denel Munitions and whether it is selling or onward selling weapons to countries which are in conflict, we are going to get a response moving forward. But Honorable Niehaus has indicated that he's willing to provide additional information including further questions to NCACC to assist with the investigation so that we can finally put this matter to bed. So I think we will conclude the matter in that way. There were questions of an industrial nature which involve impact on the economy, science, innovation, technology transfer, and others. The suggestion from the Deputy Minister, which we will take forward, is that we must engage sister committees in Parliament for a hearing on that matter. I would like to request, honorable members, that we actually do so. We will write to the chairpersons of the Portfolio Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition, as well as Science and Innovation, so that we can have a hearing on the broader industrial impact of the NCACC and the work that it undertakes. I hope that we will also be able during that session to also invite the Aerospace, Defense and Maritime Industry Association, so that they also give us a perspective that will assist to understand the positive impact that NCACC is having on the industry. We appreciate, Deputy Minister, that NCACC is meeting regularly and you are ahead in terms of the orders and certificates. That means that the concerns which were there at the beginning of our committee are now being addressed, and it's actually very good that NCACC is meeting. We also appreciate the collaboration between NCACC and the committee, submitting reports, briefing us timeously, so that the committee can exercise its oversight responsibility appropriately. Honorable members, we conclude discussions on this issue with the outstanding reports that are to be submitted to us going forward, and the collaboration on certain investigations, as Mr. Niehaus has committed, which the Deputy Minister has indicated that they will welcome as NCACC. We will now proceed to take the minutes of our previous meeting before we conclude the meeting. Nandipa. The Deputy Ministers and NCACC Secretariat and DCACC are at liberty to recuse themselves at this stage.
Chairperson and members, thank you very, very much for this opportunity. We will follow up on the matters agreed to, and thank you very much for releasing us. Seeing that we were not present at your last meeting, we are disbarred from moving for adoption of your minutes. So thank you very, very much.
But you are at liberty to stay on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy Minister Mkungo. Herewith are the minutes presented from our previous meeting, which was a briefing by AMSCO on SANDF spare parts procurement. Please move up. I take the minutes as read, so this is just to help members refresh on the issues discussed. You will remember we didn't get a briefing by Defense Material, and we said we would write a strong letter to the minister, which has 2 letters which were written and sent to the minister on the same day, expressing our dissatisfaction with Defense Materials' absence, as well as highlighting failure to submit written reports within stipulated time frame. That was done exactly on the same day, immediately after the meeting. Do we have any corrections or a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
I move for the adoption, Chair.
Honorable Niehaus moves for the adoption of the minutes.
I second, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Was that Honorable Hatting?
No, that's Honorable Gericke, but I will also second if you require.
Honorable Gericke, thank you very much. Honorable members, that brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. The Honorable Co-Chair. Is the Co-Chair present? Can he take over? Or should I go ahead and close the meeting? I think I will then go ahead, honorable members, and close the meeting. I thank you very much. And let me thank you, honorable members, for the record on the kind words you have sent me on the conclusion of my academic studies. It's been a long journey. It's been an exciting journey, which I hope will contribute positively towards a new body of knowledge that will assist our country in terms of public management and governance. I appreciate all the kind felicitations that you have sent me privately and collectively, including through the Speaker of the National Assembly. I thank you very much, members, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson.